The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday evening, turning the cracked sidewalks of Riverside Heights into rivers of dirty water. 8-year-old Kendra Thompson pressed herself against the cold brick wall of the apartment building, her heart beating so fast she thought it might burst right out of her chest. She'd only come outside to retrieve her jump rope from the front steps. Now she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't look away from what she was seeing. 2 men in dark hoodies crouched beside the sleek silver car parked across the street. The car looked like it cost more than her entire apartment building. She'd never seen anything so shiny, so perfect, sitting there among the old beat-up vehicles that usually lined their block. One man held a small device while the other looked around nervously. Even from where she hid, Kendra could see them doing something bad. Really bad. They were putting something under the car. Her mother had taught her to stay away from trouble, to mind her own business, to get inside if she saw anything strange. But as she watched them work, hunched over in the rain like 2 shadows, something in her little chest squeezed tight. Someone owned that car. Someone who didn't know these men were doing whatever they were doing to it. Someone who might get hurt. The men finished and hurried away, disappearing around the corner. Kendra stood frozen for another minute, then another. The rain soaked through her pink jacket. Her sneakers filled with water. But all she could think about was that car and whoever would come back to drive it. What if they got hurt? What if something really terrible happened? Her small hands trembled as she dug into her jacket pocket and found the crumpled homework paper and stubby pencil she always carried. Mrs. Patterson at school said she should always be ready to write down her thoughts. Well, right now, Kendra had a very important thought. She looked both ways 3 times before crossing the street, just like Mama taught her. The rain made her notes soggy as she wrote, her letters big and messy. Bad men put something under your seat. Don't drive it. Call police. From a friend. Kendra tucked the paper under the windshield wiper and ran back to her building as fast as her small legs could carry her. She didn't stop running until she was inside her apartment with the door locked behind her. Only then did she let herself cry, partly from fear and partly from relief that she'd done something. 3 hours later, Julian Hartwell emerged from the community center 6 blocks away, exhausted but satisfied. He'd spent the evening at a youth mentorship program meeting, discussing funding for after-school activities in underserved neighborhoods. His driver had the night off, so Julian had driven himself in one of his personal vehicles, the Mercedes he used when he didn't want to draw attention. The rain had stopped, but everything still gleamed wet under the streetlights. Julian pulled his coat tighter and walked toward his car, already thinking about the warm shower and late dinner waiting for him at home. He was 52, built his tech company from nothing and could buy anything he wanted. Yet lately, everything felt empty. The big house, the fancy cars, the respect. None of it filled the hollow space inside him. He almost missed the note. It was the pink paper that caught his eye, bright against the silver hood. Julian pulled it free, frowning as he read the child's handwriting. His blood went cold. Without hesitating, he stepped back from the car and pulled out his phone. Within minutes, 2 police cars arrived, lights flashing but sirens off. Within an hour, the bomb squad had confirmed what the note said. Someone had attached a sophisticated explosive device to his car's undercarriage. If he'd started the engine, the blast would have killed him instantly. "You're one lucky man, Mr. Hartwell," the detective said, shaking his head. "If not for this note, you'd be dead. Any idea who might want to hurt you?" Julian barely heard the question. He was staring at the soggy pink paper in his hand, at the careful letters written by a child who'd risked her own safety to save a stranger. A child who'd seen something terrible and chose to help instead of hiding. "I have to find them," Julian said quietly. "The person who wrote this. I have to thank them." The detective looked doubtful. "Could be anyone in this neighborhood, sir. Might have been someone just passing through." But Julian knew better. The note said bad men, meaning the child had seen the perpetrators. The paper was standard school notebook paper, slightly worn, suggesting a child from this area. Someone who lived close enough to see his car, brave enough to approach it, smart enough to write a warning. Someone who saved his life and asked for nothing in return. As the police towed his car away for evidence, Julian looked up at the surrounding buildings. Somewhere in one of those apartments was a child who'd given him a second chance at life. A child he needed to find. Have you ever wondered what you'd do if you saw something terrible happening? Would you speak up even if it scared you? Would you help a stranger even if it meant putting yourself at risk? Kendra made that choice without hesitation. If you believe more people should choose kindness over fear, subscribe to hear how this one brave act changed everything. And comment below, what would you have done in Kendra's place? The next morning, Julian canceled all his meetings. His assistant, Patricia, tried to protest, but he was firm. Finding the child who saved his life mattered more than any business deal. "Sir, we have the quarterly reports, the investor meeting, the product launch review," Patricia listed, her tablet clutched in her hands. "Reschedule everything," Julian said. He was already dressed casually in jeans and a simple blue sweater, ready to spend the day in Riverside Heights. "A child saved my life, Patricia. I'm not going to just send a thank you card." Patricia's expression softened. She'd worked for Julian for 15 years and knew he was a good man, even if his wealth sometimes separated him from regular people. "What do you need from me? Come with me. Two people asking questions will cover more ground than one." They drove to Riverside Heights in Patricia's modest sedan, not wanting to draw attention. The neighborhood looked different in daylight. Kids played on sidewalks. Women carried groceries. Men fixed cars or sat on stoops talking. It was a community, alive and real in a way Julian's gated neighborhood never felt. He started at the corner store, showing the note to the owner, Mr. Kim. "Have you seen this handwriting? It's a child, probably around 8 or 9 years old." Mr. Kim studied it carefully, then shook his head. "Many children come in here. Hard to say. They tried the laundromat next, then the barbershop, the church, the small library branch. Everyone was polite but couldn't help. Some seemed suspicious of the well-dressed white man asking questions about local children. Julian understood their caution and tried to explain each time about the note, about his life being saved. By noon, they'd talked to dozens of people with no results. Patricia suggested they stop for lunch at a small diner on the corner. Inside, the smell of fried chicken and fresh biscuits made Julian's stomach rumble. They slid into a booth by the window. "What if we never find them?" Patricia asked gently. "Then I'll keep looking," Julian said. He meant it. This wasn't about obligation. Something in that simple note touched him deeply. A child had seen evil and chosen good. A child had helped without expecting anything back. That kind of pure heart deserved recognition. Their waitress, Rhonda, brought sweet tea and menus. She was middle-aged with kind eyes and a warm smile. As she set down their glasses, Julian decided to try once more. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, pulling out the note. "I'm trying to find the child who wrote this. They saw something important and it saved my life. I just want to thank them." Rhonda took the paper and read it slowly. Her eyebrows rose. "Well, now that's something. You're the one with the car. You heard about it?" "Honey, everybody in Riverside heard about it. Police and bomb squad don't roll through here every day." She looked at the handwriting again. "This writing looks young. See how the letters are big and some backwards? I'd say 2nd or 3rd grade." "That's what I thought too," Julian said, hope rising in his chest. "There's 3 elementary schools that feed into this area," Rhonda continued. "Washington Elementary is the closest, just 2 blocks north. Might be worth checking there. Talk to the principal, Mrs. Chin." "No, wait, you said you don't want to use Chin. Talk to the principal, Mrs. Ford. She knows every kid in that school." Julian left Rhonda a $100 tip and headed straight for Washington Elementary with Patricia. The school was older but well kept, with colorful murals on the outside walls and a playground full of children at recess. Principal Ford was a tall African-American woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that had seen everything. She listened to Julian's story without interrupting, then examined the note carefully. "I can't give you information about specific students," she said firmly. "Privacy laws, you understand." "I understand," Julian said. "But could you pass along a message? Let the parents know I'm looking for the child who wrote this? That I just want to say thank you." Mrs. Ford softened slightly. "That I can do. Leave me your contact information. If any family comes forward, I'll have them reach out to you." It wasn't the answer Julian hoped for, but it was something. He wrote down his number and email, then added, "Please make sure they know I'm not upset or trying to cause trouble. I'm grateful. That child saved my life." "I believe you, Mr. Hartwell," Mrs. Ford said. "And I hope whoever it was comes forward. We teach our students to do the right thing." Sounds like one of them really listened. As Julian and Patricia walked back to the car, he felt both frustrated and hopeful. He was close. He could feel it. Somewhere in this neighborhood, going about their normal day, was a brave little child who'd done an extraordinary thing. He would find them. And when he did, he'd make sure their courage didn't go unrewarded. But what Julian didn't know yet was that finding Kendra would lead him to something far more valuable than the life she'd saved. It would lead him to a love he never expected and a family he didn't know he needed. Back at the apartment, Brianna Thompson collapsed onto her worn couch, still wearing her grocery store uniform. Her feet ached from 8 hours standing at the register. She had exactly 2 hours before she needed to leave for her evening job cleaning offices downtown. 2 hours to check on Kendra's homework, make dinner, and maybe if she was lucky, sit down for 5 minutes. "Mama, you're home," Kendra called from the small bedroom they shared. She came running out, her braids bouncing, clutching a math worksheet. "Hey baby," Brianna said, pulling her daughter close for a hug. Kendra smelled like the apple shampoo Brianna splurged on because it made her daughter smile. "How was school?" "Good. Mrs. Patterson said my reading is getting really good. Can you check my math?" Brianna took the worksheet, her tired eyes scanning the problems. "All correct." Pride swelled in her chest. Her baby was smart, so smart. If only Brianna could give her more. Better clothes than the thrift store finds. More than pasta and canned vegetables for dinner. A bedroom of her own. Perfect, sweetheart. You got them all right. "Mama, can I ask you something?" "Always." Kendra twisted her hands together, a sign she was nervous. "If you saw someone doing something bad, would you tell?" Brianna's tiredness vanished, replaced by alertness. "What do you mean, baby? Did you see something at school?" "No, I mean like, in general. Would you tell even if you were scared?" "I'd want you to tell a grown-up you trust," Brianna said carefully. "Me or a teacher or Ms. Rhonda at the diner." "What? Are you worried about something?" Kendra shook her head quickly. "No, Mama. Just wondering." But Brianna knew her daughter, knew when she was holding something back. Before she could press, Kendra changed the subject, asking what was for dinner. Brianna let it go for now but made a mental note to bring it up again later. As she heated up leftovers and helped Kendra practice her spelling words, Brianna had no idea that her life was about to change. That the man asking questions around the neighborhood was looking for her daughter. That one small act of bravery was about to bring hope back into their struggling world. All she knew was that she was tired, her rent was due in 3 days and she was short, and her daughter deserved so much more than this. She whispered a small prayer like she did every night. "Please let something good happen. Please let us catch a break." She didn't know her prayer was already being answered. Julian couldn't sleep that night. He lay in his king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling of his empty house, thinking about a child he'd never met. The police had called with an update. The device attached to his car was professional grade, tied to a corporate espionage case they'd been building for months. Someone wanted him dead because he'd refused to sell his company to a competitor. They had suspects but no arrests yet. None of that mattered as much as finding the child who'd saved him. The next morning, Julian returned to Riverside Heights before sunrise. He parked his car a block away and simply walked the neighborhood as it woke up. He wanted to see the area through different eyes. To understand the place that had produced such a brave young soul. The streets filled slowly. People heading to early shifts. Kids waiting for school buses. The smell of coffee and bacon drifted from apartment windows. It reminded Julian of his own childhood in a neighborhood not unlike this one. Before the money, before the success, when life was simpler. He stopped at Mr. Kim's corner store again, buying coffee and a newspaper. "Any thoughts since yesterday?" he asked the owner. Mr. Kim shook his head. "I asked my wife. She knows all the families better than me. She said to check the apartment buildings on 5th Street. Lots of children there." Was a lead. Julian thanked him and headed toward 5th Street, where a row of 3-story brick buildings stood shoulder to shoulder. Each building had 8 apartments, he counted. That meant dozens of potential families. He started knocking on doors. Most people weren't home, already gone to work or school. Those who answered were polite but couldn't help. By the 10th door, Julian was starting to feel discouraged. Then an elderly woman in 2B invited him inside. "You're the car man," she said, not asking. "Heard all about it. Terrible thing, putting bombs on cars. World's gone crazy." "Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to find the child who warned me. I want to thank them properly." The woman, Mrs. Washington, settled into her chair with a thoughtful expression. "Well now, let me think. Tuesday evening, you said? During the rain?" "Yes, ma'am. I was looking out my window during that storm. Saw a little girl run across the street, then run back quick as a rabbit. Couldn't see her face with all that rain, but she had a pink jacket on. Bright pink like a flower." Julian's heart jumped. "A pink jacket. Do you know which building she went into?" "This one, I believe. Ran right in the front door. But honey, half the little girls around here probably have pink jackets. It's not much to go on. But it was something." Julian thanked Mrs. Washington and went to knock on every door in the building. Still, no one admitted to having a daughter who'd been out in the rain that evening. Some seemed nervous, talking to a strange white man asking about their children. and Julian couldn't blame them. By noon he'd covered all 3 buildings on 5th Street with no success. Frustrated, he called Patricia. "Maybe you need a different approach," she suggested. "You're a businessman looking for a child. That makes people nervous. What if you offered something to the whole community? Something that would draw families out." "Like what?" "I don't know. A community event? A reward?" Julian thought about it. A reward felt wrong, like he was paying for kindness. But a community event could work. Something that would bring families together, give him a chance to meet children and their parents in a natural setting. He spent the afternoon making arrangements. By evening, he'd rented the community center for the following Saturday. Free lunch for all families in the neighborhood. Games and activities for kids. Face painting, a bounce house, prizes. He hired Patricia's daughter, who worked in event planning, to handle the details. Flyers went up all over Riverside Heights. Community Appreciation Day, sponsored by Hartwell Technologies. Free food, fun, and family activities. Saturday 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. That night, as Julian drove home, he felt more hopeful. If the child who'd saved him lived in this neighborhood, surely they'd come to a free community event. Meanwhile, Kendra saw one of the flyers taped to the front door of her building. She studied it carefully, sounding out the big words. Free food sounded good. Mama was always worried about money for food. And there was going to be face painting, which Kendra loved. "Mama, can we go to this?" she asked when Brianna got home from her first job. Brianna read the flyer, her expression tired and uncertain. Free events were nice, but they always seemed too good to be true. Still, Kendra looked so hopeful. "We'll see, baby. If Mama's not too tired on Saturday." "Please?" "Says free lunch. We could eat there and save money." That was the magic phrase. Saving money. Brianna looked at the flyer again and sighed. "Okay, we'll go for a little while. But Mama has to work Saturday evening, so we can't stay long." Kendra hugged her mother tight, already excited. She had no idea the event was being thrown by the man whose life she'd saved. No idea that going to that community center would change everything for her and her mama. The days passed slowly for Julian but quickly for Kendra. School occupied her days, but her mind kept drifting back to that rainy evening and the scary men. She'd been having bad dreams about it. What if they came back? What if they hurt someone else? On Thursday, Mrs. Ford called Brianna at work. "Miss Thompson, could you come in for a brief meeting tomorrow?" About Kendra. Brianna's heart sank. Had her daughter done something wrong? She couldn't afford to take time off work, but she'd make it happen. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. It's actually something positive. Can you come in around 3? The next afternoon, Brianna sat nervously in Mrs. Ford's office while Kendra waited outside with the secretary. The principal smiled kindly. "Miss Thompson, I wanted to talk to you about something unusual. A man came by earlier this week asking about a note that saved his life. Someone put a bomb on his car and a child left a warning. He's trying to find that child to say thank you." Brianna's hand flew to her mouth. "A bomb?" "Yes. Very serious situation. The police are involved. But this man, Julian Hartwell, he's not concerned about himself. He just wants to thank the child. I told him I couldn't give out student information, but I said I'd reach out if any families came forward." Mrs. Ford paused. "Do you know anything about this?" Brianna's mind raced. Tuesday evening. The rain. Kendra asking about telling when you see something bad. Her daughter coming inside soaking wet. "I need to talk to Kendra." They brought Kendra in, and the little girl took one look at both women's serious faces and burst into tears. "I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry. I just didn't want anyone to get hurt." The whole story came out between sobs. The men, the car, the note. Brianna held her daughter close, her own tears flowing. Her baby had been so brave and so scared, and she'd done it all alone. "You're not in trouble, sweetheart," Brianna said firmly. "You did the right thing. You saved someone's life." "Really?" Kendra's tear-stained face looked up hopefully. "Really? I'm so proud of you." Mrs. Ford handed Brianna a card. "This is Mr. Hartwell's information. He really does just want to say thank you. He seems like a genuine person. But of course, it's entirely up to you whether you contact him." Brianna took the card, studying the name. Julian Hartwell. She knew that name. He owned that big tech company downtown. He was rich. Really rich. And he wanted to thank her daughter. "What should I do?" Brianna asked Mrs. Ford. "That's not my decision to make. But I will say this. In 30 years of education, I've seen a lot of people. Mr. Hartwell struck me as sincere. He's not trying to cause trouble. He genuinely wants to express gratitude." That evening, after Kendra was asleep, Brianna stared at the business card. She thought about her bills, her 2 jobs, the constant stress of trying to make ends meet. She thought about what her late husband would say. Michael had always taught them to accept kindness, to let people help when help was offered. But this felt different. This was a billionaire. What would someone like that want from people like them? Then she thought about Kendra's brave face, her careful handwriting, her pure heart. Her daughter deserved recognition for what she'd done. Not money, not rewards, just acknowledgement that she'd been brave and good. Brianna picked up her phone and dialed the number on the card before she could change her mind. It rang 3 times before a man answered. "This is Julian. Mr. Hartwell? My name is Brianna Thompson. I believe my daughter is the child you're looking for." On the other end of the line, Julian stood up so fast he knocked his chair over. "You are? She is? Is she okay? Please tell me she's okay." The genuine concern in his voice made Brianna smile despite her nervousness. "She's fine. A little scared she might be in trouble, but fine." "Trouble? She's a hero. She saved my life." Julian's voice cracked with emotion. "Miss Thompson, I can't thank you enough for calling. Would it be possible to meet? To thank your daughter in person?" Brianna hesitated only a moment. Something in his voice told her this was okay. This was safe. "We're planning to come to your community event tomorrow. Would that work?" "Perfect. More than perfect. What's your daughter's name?" "Kendra. She's 8 years old." "Kendra," Julian repeated softly. "That's a beautiful name. Miss Thompson, I promise you I just want to say thank you. I'm not looking to cause any disruption to your lives." "I believe you," Brianna said, and surprisingly she did. After they hung up, Julian stood in his study, his hands shaking slightly. He'd found her. He'd actually found the brave little girl who'd saved his life. Tomorrow he'd get to meet her, to look her in the eyes and tell her what her courage meant. He couldn't wait. Saturday morning came bright and clear. Brianna woke to find Kendra already up, dressed in her best outfit, a purple dress that was getting too short but was still her favorite. Her braids were slightly messy from sleep, so Brianna spent 20 minutes carefully redoing them while Kendra wiggled with excitement. "Sit still, baby," Brianna said gently, working the comb through carefully. "I'm trying, Mama. I'm just so excited about the face painting and the bounce house." Brianna smiled. At least her daughter didn't seem scared about meeting the man whose life she'd saved. Kendra had always been braver than any 8-year-old had a right to be. Looking in the mirror, Brianna wished she had something nicer to wear than her 3-year-old jeans and simple green sweater. But this was as good as it got. She'd learned long ago that there was no shame in being poor, only in being unkind. She held her head high. They walked the 6 blocks to the community center, Kendra skipping ahead and then running back, too full of energy to stay still. The neighborhood was already buzzing with excitement. Everyone was talking about the free event. In a community where every dollar mattered, free food and entertainment was a big deal. The community center parking lot was already full when they arrived. Balloons decorated the entrance and music played from speakers. The smell of grilled burgers and hot dogs filled the air. Kendra's eyes went wide. "Mama, look at all of it." Inside, the main hall had been transformed. Tables full of food lined one wall. A bounce house took up one corner. Face painting, craft stations and game booths filled the rest of the space. Children ran everywhere, laughing and playing. Parents stood in groups, talking and eating, looking more relaxed than Brianna had seen anyone in this neighborhood look in a long time. "Miss Thompson?" Brianna turned to see a well-dressed older white woman approaching with a warm smile. "I'm Patricia, Mr. Hartwell's assistant. He asked me to watch for you. He's very eager to meet Kendra." Patricia led them through the crowd to a quieter corner where Julian stood talking to a group of elderly residents. When he saw them approaching, his whole face lit up. He excused himself and walked over quickly. Brianna got her first real look at Julian Hartwell. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, with dark hair starting to gray at the temples. He wore casual clothes, khaki pants and a blue button-down shirt, but carried himself with quiet confidence. His eyes were kind. That's what struck her most. Despite his wealth and power, his eyes were gentle. "Miss Thompson," he said, then his gaze dropped to Kendra. "And you must be Kendra." Kendra pressed against her mother's leg, suddenly shy. Brianna put a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Go on, baby. Say hello." "Hello," Kendra whispered. Julian crouched down so he was at Kendra's eye level. "Kendra, I'm Julian. And I want to thank you for being the bravest, smartest girl I've ever met. You saved my life." "I was really scared," Kendra admitted. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." And that's exactly what you did. Julian's voice was thick with emotion. You saw something bad happening and you helped a stranger. That takes real courage. Kendra looked up at her mother, who nodded encouragingly. Mama said I did good. You did better than good. You did amazing. Julian stood up and looked at Brianna. Miss Thompson, could we talk privately for a few minutes? Patricia can stay with Kendra, make sure she gets her face painted and tries the bounce house. Brianna wanted to say no to keep her daughter close. But Kendra was already looking at Patricia with interest, and the older woman had a grandmotherly warmth that put Brianna at ease. Please, Mama? Can I go get my face painted like a butterfly? Okay, baby. Stay with Miss Patricia. I'll be right over there where you can see me. Julian led Brianna to a small office off the main hall. Through the window, they could see Kendra settling into the face painting chair, already chattering away to Patricia. She's beautiful, Julian said. You must be very proud. I am. Every day. Brianna folded her arms, trying to hide her nervousness. Mr. Hartwell, I appreciate you thanking Kendra. That means a lot to her. To both of us. Please call me Julian. And I need you to know that thanking her isn't enough. He took a deep breath. Miss Thompson, Brianna, may I ask you something personal? Are you doing okay? Financially, I mean. Brianna stiffened. We manage. I don't mean any disrespect. I can see how well you take care of your daughter. She's happy and healthy and clearly loved. But I also know this neighborhood. I grew up in one like it. I know what it means to work 2 or 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. How did he know about her jobs? Brianna's expression must have shown her surprise because Julian quickly explained. Patricia is very thorough. When you called, she did some basic research. Not to invade your privacy but to understand your situation. You work at Morrison's Grocery during the day and clean offices at night. You've been late on rent twice in the past 6 months. You're doing everything right, working as hard as anyone possibly could, and you're still struggling. Tears pricked at Brianna's eyes. She blinked them back. A lot of people struggle. We're not special. But Kendra is special. And you are too. Brianna, your daughter saved my life. Please let me help you. I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's gratitude. There's a difference. Julian leaned forward, his expression earnest. I have more money than I could spend in 5 lifetimes. Money that sits in accounts doing nothing. Let me use some of it to make your life easier. Not as charity but as a thank you. As a way of honoring what your daughter did. Brianna's heart pounded. She wanted to say no, to walk away, to keep her pride intact. But she was so tired. Tired of worrying. Tired of working herself sick. Tired of seeing Kendra wear clothes that didn't fit and eat pasta 5 nights a week because that's all they could afford. What are you offering? She asked quietly. First, let me pay off your debts. Rent, credit cards, medical bills, all of it. Start you fresh. Julian saw her about to protest and held up a hand. Please hear me out. Second, I'd like to offer you a job at my company. A real job with benefits, paid time off, and a salary that will let you quit those night shifts. Patricia says you have an associate's degree in business administration? I never finished. I got pregnant with Kendra and then my husband got sick. You got farther than I did. I dropped out of college to start my company. The degree doesn't matter. What matters is that you're smart and hardworking. I have an opening in our community outreach department. Someone to help us connect with neighborhoods like this one, understand their needs, help distribute our charitable funds effectively. You'd be perfect for it. Brianna's mind spun. A real job? With benefits? Sounded too good to be true. Third, Julian continued, I'd like to set up a college fund for Kendra. Something that will make sure she never has to worry about affording higher education. She's brilliant, Brianna. I can see that already. She deserves every opportunity. I don't know what to say. Say yes, please. Let me help you the way your daughter helped me. Let me give you both a chance at something better. Brianna looked through the window at Kendra, who was now showing off her butterfly face paint to other children, laughing without a care in the world. Her baby deserved better than constant stress and worry. She deserved a mother who could be present instead of exhausted. She deserved opportunities. And wasn't that why Brianna worked so hard? To give Kendra a better life? Okay, she said softly. Yes, we accept. With gratitude. The smile that broke across Julian's face was like sunrise. Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me. Truly. They shook hands and Brianna felt something shift inside her chest. Hope. For the first time in years, actual hope that things might get better. What she didn't know yet was that this was just the beginning. That the gratitude between them would slowly transform into something deeper. That the man shaking her hand would become someone she couldn't imagine living without. But for now it was enough to watch Kendra play, knowing that tomorrow would be a little easier than today. The following Monday, Brianna started her new job at Hartwell Technologies. The building was downtown, all glass and steel, so different from anywhere she'd worked before. Patricia met her in the lobby and gave her a tour. "Your office is on the 3rd floor," Patricia explained, leading her to a small but bright space with a window overlooking the city. "We've set you up with a computer, phone, and all the supplies you need. Your supervisor is Rachel Torres. She runs the community outreach department and is excited to have you on board." Brianna touched the desk, hardly believing it was hers. An office. With a window. And she'd never have to mop another floor or stand at a register for 8 hours straight. "Is this real?" she asked softly. Patricia smiled. "Very real. You've earned this, Brianna. Julian wasn't just being nice. He genuinely believes you'll be excellent at this job. And between you and me, he's usually right about people." Rachel Torres turned out to be a warm Latina woman in her 40s who immediately put Brianna at ease. She explained the department's work. Identifying community needs, distributing grants, organizing programs like the event on Saturday, and building relationships with neighborhood leaders. "We want to help communities without being outsiders who think we know better," Rachel said. "That's where you come in. You've lived it. You understand what people actually need versus what wealthy donors think they need." Brianna spent her first week learning the systems, meeting the team, and reviewing current projects. Everyone was welcoming. Nobody treated her like she didn't belong or like she was there because of charity. They treated her like a professional. Meanwhile, Julian found himself thinking about Brianna and Kendra far more than he expected. He'd done what he set out to do, thanked the child who saved him and helped her family. He should have felt satisfied and moved on. Instead, he kept finding reasons to stop by the 3rd floor. "Just checking how Brianna is settling in," he'd tell Patricia, who gave him knowing looks but said nothing. The truth was, there was something about Brianna that drew him. She was beautiful, yes, with warm brown skin, expressive eyes, and a smile that lit up her whole face when she let herself relax. But it was more than that. She had a quiet strength, a grace in how she carried herself despite everything she'd been through. She loved her daughter fiercely. She worked hard without complaining. She was real in a way that most people in Julian's world weren't. He started timing his coffee breaks for when he knew Brianna would be in the break room. They'd talk about nothing important: the weather, weekend plans, how Kendra was adjusting to having more at home. But those small conversations became the highlight of Julian's day. "Kendra wants to know if you'd come to her school play next month," Brianna mentioned one Thursday afternoon as they stood by the coffee machine. "She's playing a flower in the spring recital. I told her you're probably too busy, but she made me promise to ask." "I'd love to," Julian said immediately. "What day?" "Really? You don't have to." "I want to. Kendra saved my life, Brianna. The least I can do is watch her be a flower." Brianna laughed, a sound that made Julian's chest feel warm. "She'll be so excited. Fair warning though, school plays are not exactly Broadway. I'm sure it'll be the best performance I've ever seen." And he meant it. He was already looking forward to it more than the investor gala he had that same week. As the days turned into weeks, Julian became a regular presence in Kendra's life. He attended the school play and cheered louder than anyone when Kendra took her bow. He stopped by for dinner one evening when Brianna mentioned she was making her grandmother's famous stew. He helped Kendra with a science project about solar systems. The two of them hunched over poster board with markers and glue. Brianna watched these interactions with a mix of gratitude and something else she didn't want to name. Julian was good with Kendra, patient and kind. He didn't talk down to her or treat her like a child to be managed. He listened to her stories, asked about her day, and seemed genuinely interested in her 8-year-old opinions on everything from favorite ice cream flavors to what makes someone a good friend. But it was the way he looked at Brianna that made her heart do strange things. Like she was someone worth seeing. Like she mattered beyond being Kendra's mother or an employee of his company. One Saturday, Julian invited them to a museum. "I have a membership and never use it. Seems like a waste." Kendra mentioned she's studying dinosaurs in school. The museum was nearly empty that morning. They wandered through exhibits, Kendra running ahead to read every placard while Julian and Brianna followed at a slower pace. "Thank you for this," Brianna said. "She's having the time of her life." "So am I," Julian admitted. He hesitated, then added, "I don't do things like this much. Go to museums, I mean. Or do anything that isn't work-related. It's nice. Really nice." You should make time for more nice things, Brianna said. I'm trying to. He looked at her, his expression soft. You and Kendra, you're teaching me how. There was something in his eyes that made Brianna's breath catch. She looked away quickly, focusing on Kendra, who was gesturing excitedly at a T-Rex skeleton. But the moment stayed with her. That look. That possibility of something more. That evening, after they'd said goodbye to Julian and returned to their apartment, the new, bigger apartment he'd helped them move into, Kendra curled up on the couch next to her mother. Mama, do you like Mr. Julian? Of course, baby. He's been very kind to us. No, I mean, do you like him like him? Kendra's 8-year-old intuition was sharper than Brianna wanted to admit. Why do you ask? Because you smile different when he's around. And he looks at you a lot when you're not looking. Brianna's heart skipped. Sweetheart, Mr. Julian and I are just friends. He's my boss. But he could be more than friends, right? Kendra looked up hopefully. I think he'd be a good more than friend. He's nice and he makes you laugh. You don't laugh enough, Mama? The simple truth of that statement hit Brianna hard. She didn't laugh enough. She'd been surviving for so long that she'd forgotten how to actually live. Let's not worry about that right now, Brianna said, kissing Kendra's forehead. Let's just be grateful for the good things we have. But that night, lying in bed, Brianna let herself think about Julian in a way she hadn't allowed before. About his kind eyes and gentle humor. About how safe she felt around him. About how Kendra lit up when he was near. About how long it had been since she'd felt anything for a man other than grief for her late husband. Michael had been gone for 3 years. He'd want her to be happy. He'd told her that in his last days, made her promise not to spend her life alone. Could Julian be that person? Could something real develop between them? Brianna didn't know. But for the first time in a long time she was willing to find out. Across the city, Julian sat in his home office, staring at his laptop without seeing it. He should be reviewing quarterly reports. Instead, he was thinking about the way Brianna had laughed at the museum. The way Kendra had held his hand while they looked at the dinosaurs. The way something in his chest had cracked open when Brianna smiled at him. He was 52 years old. He'd built an empire. He'd never married, never had children, convinced that his work was enough. Now he wondered if he'd been wrong all along. If the thing he'd been missing wasn't another success or another acquisition. If what he'd been missing was exactly this. A woman with a beautiful heart and a little girl with incredible courage. If what he'd been missing was a family. 2 months after Kendra's brave act, life had settled into a new normal that still felt like a dream to Brianna. She woke up in a 2-bedroom apartment where the heat worked and the water pressure was good. She went to a job she enjoyed, where people respected her ideas and valued her input. She picked up Kendra from school and had the whole evening to spend with her daughter instead of rushing off to a second shift. The constant knot of anxiety in her stomach had finally loosened. But a different kind of tension had taken its place. The growing awareness of Julian as more than just a benefactor or boss. As a man. They had dinner together at least twice a week now, sometimes at restaurants Julian picked, sometimes at Brianna's apartment where she cooked. Kendra would chatter through the meal, telling Julian about school and friends and the chapter book she was reading. After dinner, she'd work on homework while the adults lingered at the table talking over coffee. These conversations were the foundation of something Brianna hadn't expected. She and Julian were becoming real friends. He told her about growing up poor, about his mother working 3 jobs, about dropping out of college to start his company in a garage. She told him about meeting Michael in high school, about their dreams before cancer stole them, about the hard years after his death. "I'm sorry you went through that," Julian said one evening, his hand reaching across the table to briefly cover hers. "Losing someone you love that young." "We had 9 good years together," Brianna said. "He gave me Kendra. I'll always be grateful for that. He sounds like he was a good man." "He was. He would have liked you, I think. He always said kindness was the most important thing." Brianna paused. "I hope it's okay that I talk about him sometimes. I know it might be strange." "It's not strange at all. He's part of your story. Part of what made you who you are. I'd never want you to pretend that didn't exist." The gentleness in Julian's voice made Brianna's eyes sting with unexpected tears. He understood. He didn't see Michael as competition or a ghost to overcome. He saw him as part of her history worthy of respect. That night, after Julian left, Brianna stood at her window looking out at the city lights. Something was growing between them. She could feel it in every glance that lasted too long, every casual touch that sent warmth through her skin, every conversation that went deeper than it probably should. She was falling for him. Maybe had already fallen. The realization scared her. Julian was rich and powerful. His world was so different from hers. What if this was temporary? What if he got bored? What if she was reading the signals all wrong and embarrassed herself? But then she thought about the way he looked at her. The way he showed up consistently week after week. The way he treated Kendra like she mattered. And she thought maybe, just maybe, the risk was worth taking. Julian, meanwhile, was struggling with his own realizations. He'd gone from wanting to thank a brave child to needing to see Brianna and Kendra every chance he could get. His big house felt even emptier now. His work, which had always been his passion, seemed less important than the text message from Brianna asking if he wanted to join them for pizza. He was in love. Completely, utterly in love. Not just with Brianna, though her smile had become the best part of his day, but with Kendra too. With the whole package of them. With the life they represented, warm and real and full of the things that actually mattered. "You should tell her how you feel," Patricia said one afternoon when she caught Julian staring at his phone, waiting for a text from Brianna. "What if I'm wrong? What if she just sees me as someone who helped her? Julian, I've known you for 15 years. I've never seen you like this. And I've seen how she looks at you. That woman has feelings. You just need to be brave enough to admit yours first. What about Kendra? I don't want to confuse her or make her uncomfortable. That little girl adores you. Trust me, she'll be thrilled." Still, Julian hesitated. He'd faced down corporate boards, negotiated million-dollar deals, built a company from nothing. But telling Brianna he loved her felt more terrifying than any of that. The push he needed came from an unexpected source. One Saturday, Julian took Kendra to the park while Brianna ran errands. They walked around the lake, feeding ducks with bread they'd brought. Kendra was quiet, unusual for her. "Everything okay?" Julian asked. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you love my mama?" Julian nearly tripped over his own feet. "What?" "I see how you look at her. And how she looks at you when you're not paying attention. You love her, right?" There was no point lying to this perceptive child. "Yes, I do. Very much." "Then why don't you tell her?" "It's complicated, sweetheart. Adults make things complicated sometimes." Kendra stopped walking and looked up at him seriously. "My daddy used to say that life's too short to not tell people you love them. He told Mama and me every single day. Even when he was really sick, he said it." Julian crouched down to her level. "Your daddy was very wise. So you should tell her. Because what if something happens and you never get to? That would be really sad." Out of the mouths of children. Julian pulled Kendra into a hug. "You're absolutely right. Thank you for being so smart. Does this mean you're going to be my new daddy?" The hope in her voice nearly broke his heart. "Would you want that?" "Yeah. I think my first daddy would want Mama to be happy. And you make her happy. You make both of us happy." That night, Julian texted Brianna. "Are you free tomorrow evening? I'd like to take you to dinner. Just the two of us." Patricia already volunteered to stay with Kendra. Brianna stared at the message, her heart racing. Just the two of them. That sounded like a date. A real date. "Yes," she texted back. "I'd like that." She didn't sleep much that night, too busy wondering what tomorrow would bring. Excited and nervous and hopeful all at once. Neither of them knew that tomorrow would change everything. Brianna changed clothes 4 times Sunday evening before settling on a simple red dress she'd bought for a work function. It was modest but flattering, and the color made her feel confident. She left her hair down in natural curls and wore the small gold earrings that had been her mother's. When Julian arrived to pick her up, the look on his face told her she'd chosen well. "You look beautiful," he said, his voice slightly awed. "Thank you. You look nice too." He did. Navy suit without a tie, the jacket fitted perfectly to his shoulders. He'd clearly put thought into this. Kendra bounded out of her room in pajamas, even though it was only 6:30. "Have fun, Mama. Don't worry about me. Miss Patricia and I are going to make cookies and watch movies." Patricia waved from the couch, already settling in. "We'll be just fine. You two enjoy yourselves." The restaurant Julian chose was elegant but not stuffy. Soft lighting, comfortable booths, a menu that made Brianna's mouth water just reading it. They settled into a corner booth with a view of the city lights. "I've never been anywhere this nice," Brianna admitted as she looked around. "Good food is good food, whether it costs $5 or $50, Julian said. "But I wanted tonight to be special." "Why tonight?" Julian took a breath. "Because I need to tell you something. And I wanted to do it somewhere we could really talk." Brianna's heart started pounding. "Okay." The waiter came, they ordered, and then they were alone again. Julian reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was warm, slightly callous despite his wealth. Real hands that did real work. Brianna, these past few months have been the best of my life. Getting to know you, spending time with Kendra, being part of your lives. It's made me realize what I've been missing all these years. Julian. Please, let me finish before I lose my nerve. He smiled nervously. I'm 52 years old. I've built a successful company, made more money than I need, achieved everything I thought I wanted. But I've been lonely. So lonely I didn't even realize it until I met you and Kendra. Until I understood what it felt like to come home to people who actually cared if I showed up. To laugh at dinner instead of eating alone. To have someone ask about my day and really listen to the answer. Brianna's eyes filled with tears. I know this might be too fast, Julian continued. I know you've been through a lot and you have Kendra to think about. But I can't pretend anymore that I'm just being grateful or just being friendly. Brianna, I've fallen in love with you. Completely. And I love Kendra too. I love both of you and I want to be part of your lives for real. Not just as someone who helped you once, but as someone who gets to be there for all of it. The good days and hard days and regular days. A tear slipped down Brianna's cheek. I thought maybe I was imagining it. That a man like you couldn't actually want someone like me. A man like me? Julian shook his head. I'm just a guy who got lucky in business. You're the one who's amazing. You've raised a daughter who's brave and kind while working yourself to the bone. You've stayed strong through loss that would have broken most people. You face every day with grace and determination. Brianna, you're extraordinary. And I'd be honored if you'd give me a chance to prove I can be the man you and Kendra deserve. Brianna let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. You already are. Don't you see that? These past months, you've shown up in every way that matters. You've been patient and kind. You've listened. You've made Kendra feel special and safe. You've made me feel like maybe I could be more than just a struggling single mother. You've always been more than that. I know that now. Because you helped me see it. Brianna squeezed his hand. Julian, I'm in love with you too. I've been fighting it because it scared me. Because I thought it was too good to be true. But I'm tired of being scared. Life's too short for that. Julian's face broke into the most beautiful smile Brianna had ever seen. Really? Really? Yes. Whatever you're asking, however you want to do this, yes. Julian stood up from his side of the booth and slid in next to her. He cupped her face gently in his hands, looking into her eyes like she was the most precious thing in the world. Can I kiss you? He asked softly. I really wish you would. The kiss was gentle at first, tender and sweet. Then deeper as 3 months of held-back feelings poured into it. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. That was worth the wait, Julian said, making Brianna laugh. They spent the rest of dinner talking about the future. Not making concrete plans, just dreaming together. About trips they could take, things they wanted to do, the life they might build. It felt natural and right and possible in a way Brianna hadn't imagined feeling again. When they got back to the apartment, Patricia took one look at their glowing faces and grinned. I take it dinner went well? Very well, Julian confirmed. Kendra came running out. Did you tell her? Did she say yes? Tell me what? Brianna asked. Kendra looked at Julian, who laughed. I may have mentioned to Kendra that I was planning to tell you how I felt. She gave me a pep talk. A good one too, Kendra said proudly. So did Mama say yes? I said yes, Brianna confirmed. Kendra shrieked with joy and launched herself at Julian, who caught her and swung her around. Does this mean you're going to be my new daddy? Julian looked at Brianna, making sure this was okay. She nodded, tears in her eyes again. If that's okay with you and your mama, I'd really like that, Julian said. I know I can never replace your first dad and I wouldn't want to. But I'd be honored to love you and take care of you like a father should. It's okay, Kendra said seriously. My first daddy would want us to have someone. He told Mama that before he died. He said we should be happy. The four of them stood in the living room holding on to each other and something clicked into place. A family. Not traditional, not perfect, but real and full of love. After Patricia left and Kendra was in bed, Julian and Brianna sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. I never thought this would happen again, Brianna said quietly. After Michael died, I thought that was it for me. One great love in a lifetime. Maybe we get more than one if we're lucky. Different, but just as real. Thank you for being patient with me. For not pushing. Thank you for giving me a chance. For letting me into your life. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just being together. Eventually, Julian had to leave, though neither wanted him to go. At the door, he kissed her again, soft and sweet. I'll see you tomorrow? You'll see us every day if you want, Brianna said. I really, really want. After he left, Brianna got ready for bed with a smile she couldn't wipe off her face. She peeked in on Kendra, who was supposed to be asleep but clearly wasn't. I love Mr. Julian, Mama, Kendra whispered. I love him too, baby. So much. Daddy would be happy, right? Brianna sat on the edge of the bed and smoothed Kendra's hair. Your daddy would be very happy. He loved us so much and he'd want us to be happy and safe. Mr. Julian makes us both those things. Good. Because I think we're going to be really happy now. I think so too. As Brianna finally climbed into her own bed, she thought about how one brave act had changed their entire lives. Kendra's note had saved Julian's life, yes. But in a way it had saved theirs too. It had brought them hope and love and the promise of better days ahead. Sometimes courage comes in small packages. Sometimes it's written in a child's messy handwriting on soggy notebook paper. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, that courage opens doors to happiness you never imagined possible. The weeks after their first date felt like walking on air. Julian and Brianna were officially together now, and neither bothered hiding their happiness. At work, people noticed Brianna's constant smile. Her co-workers teased her gently, happy to see her so happy. Julian was different too. His employees noticed their usually serious CEO whistling in the halls, taking actual lunch breaks, leaving the office at reasonable hours. Patricia had to hide her satisfied smirk every time she saw them together. They were careful around Kendra, not wanting to move too fast or confuse her. But Kendra had no such concerns. She'd accepted Julian as part of their family immediately and completely. When is Mr. Julian moving in? She asked one morning over breakfast. Brianna nearly choked on her coffee. Baby, we haven't talked about that yet. But he's here all the time anyway. He could just bring his stuff. It's more complicated than that. What? If you love someone and they love you, you should be together. That's what you always tell me about best friends. The simple logic was hard to argue with. Later that day, Brianna mentioned the conversation to Julian, who laughed. She's not wrong, he said. I do spend most of my time here. My house feels like a hotel I occasionally visit. You have a beautiful house, Brianna pointed out. She'd seen pictures. I have a big empty house. This is a home. There's a difference. Julian paused. But I don't want to rush you. We can take this at whatever pace you're comfortable with. What pace are you comfortable with? Honestly? I'd marry you tomorrow if I thought you'd say yes. Brianna's heart skipped. That's very fast. I'm 52. I've dated enough to know what I want. And I want this. You, Kendra, a real family. But I understand if you need more time. Ask me again in a few months, Brianna said softly. Let's make sure this is really what we both want. I already know. But I'll wait. Julian kissed her forehead. I'll wait as long as you need. They settled into a rhythm. Julian came for dinner most nights. Some evenings they cooked together, moving around the kitchen in a dance that became familiar. Julian would chop vegetables while Brianna seasoned meat. Kendra would set the table and tell them about school. After dinner they'd watch a movie or play board games or just talk. On weekends they did family things. The zoo, the aquarium, picnics in the park. Julian taught Kendra to ride a bike, running alongside her while she wobbled and shrieked with laughter. Brianna watched from a bench, her heart so full it almost hurt. You're good with her, she told Julian later. A natural. I love her. It's easy to be good with someone you love. Julian started attending parent-teacher conferences with Brianna. Kendra's teacher, Mrs. Patterson, smiled at them warmly. Kendra's doing wonderfully. Her reading has improved so much and her confidence has really grown. Whatever you're doing at home, keep it up. She's had extra support recently, Brianna said, glancing at Julian. Well, it shows. She's a joy to have in class. As they walked back to the car, Julian took Brianna's hand. I've never been to a parent-teacher conference before. I liked it. You're officially part of the parent team now. Good. That's exactly where I want to be. One evening, Julian brought over old photo albums from his childhood. He and Brianna sat on the couch going through them while Kendra did homework at the kitchen table. That's me at 10, Julian said, pointing to a skinny kid with a gap-toothed grin. Right before we moved to a new neighborhood because we couldn't afford rent. You were cute. I was awkward. Didn't grow into my ears until college. Brianna laughed. And that's your mom? She pointed to a tired-looking woman in a waitress uniform. Yeah, she worked so hard. 3 jobs most of the time. I never went hungry, never missed a day of school, but I knew things were tight. It's why I worked so hard to build the company. I wanted to make her life easier. Did you? I did. Bought her a house, made sure she never had to work again. She died 5 years ago, but at least her last years were comfortable. She'd be proud of you. I hope so. Julian looked at Kendra, who was bent over her math worksheet, tongue poking out in concentration. I hope she'd be proud of this too. The family I'm building. I know she would be. They talked for hours that night, sharing stories from their childhoods, their teenage years, their early adult struggles. Finding all the ways they were similar despite their different paths. Both had known poverty and hard work. Both valued family and kindness. Both believed in helping others. We make sense together, Brianna said as the evening wound down. We really do. Another evening, Julian took Brianna to an art gallery opening. It was a world she'd never experienced before, full of elegantly dressed people drinking wine and discussing paintings Brianna didn't fully understand. She felt out of place in her simple blue dress. You okay? Julian asked, noticing her discomfort. I don't really fit in here. Neither do I, honestly. I only come to these things for business. But we can leave if you want. No, it's fine. I want to be part of your world. Brianna, look at me. Julian turned her to face him. You are my world. This stuff, these people, none of it matters as much as you do. If you're uncomfortable, we leave. I don't care about impressing anyone here. His sincerity calmed her nerves. Okay. But let's stay a little longer. I want to try. They walked through the gallery, Julian explaining the pieces he liked and why. Brianna found herself relaxing, realizing that art was just about feeling something and she could do that. By the end of the evening, she was enjoying herself. See? You did great, Julian said as they drove home. I still felt like a kid playing dress-up. You looked like the most beautiful woman in the room. Everyone was staring at you. They were probably wondering who let me in. They were probably wondering how I got so lucky. Julian squeezed her hand. Brianna, I need you to hear this. You belong anywhere you want to be. Your background doesn't make you less than anyone. If anything, it makes you more because you've worked for everything you have. These people with their trust funds and family connections, they don't know real struggle. You do. That gives you perspective they'll never have. Brianna felt something shift inside her. She'd spent so long feeling like she didn't measure up, like her poverty made her somehow less. But Julian was right. She'd survived and thrived despite enormous challenges. That was something to be proud of. Thank you, she said softly, for seeing me the way you do. I see you the way you are. Amazing. As the months passed, their love deepened. They learned each other's quirks and habits. Brianna discovered that Julian hummed when he cooked and couldn't function without his morning coffee. Julian learned that Brianna talked in her sleep and had to read before bed or she couldn't relax. They had their first argument 3 months into the relationship. Julian wanted to buy Kendra an expensive tablet for her birthday. Brianna thought it was too much. She's 9 years old, Julian. She doesn't need a $500 tablet. But she wants to learn coding and this has educational software. A basic tablet would work just as well. Why does it matter? I can afford it. Because I don't want her growing up thinking everything just gets handed to her. She needs to understand the value of things. They went back and forth, voices rising slightly. Finally, Julian stopped and took a breath. You're right. I'm sorry. I get excited about giving you both things I never had, and I forget that there's more to parenting than just buying stuff. I'm sorry too. I know you're just trying to be generous. I shouldn't have snapped. They compromised on a mid-range tablet and Julian teaching Kendra to code himself, which turned out to be better than any expensive gadget. Their first fight taught them they could disagree and work through it. That conflict didn't mean the end of love. Every challenge they faced only proved they were building something real. Something that would last. And when Julian started looking at engagement rings online late at night, he knew he was ready to make it permanent. He just had to wait for the right moment. Do you think they're rushing into this? Or when you know, you know. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to see what happens next. 5 months into their relationship, things were getting serious. Julian had essentially moved into Brianna's apartment, though he kept his house for business meetings and hosting. Most of his clothes were in her closet now. His toiletries filled half the bathroom counter. Kendra thought this was perfectly normal and kept asking when they were getting married. Soon, Julian would say, winking at Brianna. How soon? Kendra would press. When your mama is ready. Brianna wasn't sure if she was ready. Not because she doubted her feelings. She loved Julian completely, more than she'd thought possible. But marriage was a big step, especially with Kendra involved. What if something went wrong? What if the fairy tale ended? You're overthinking, her friend Nicole said one afternoon. They were having coffee while Kendra was at school. Nicole had been Brianna's friend since high school, one of the few people who stuck around through the hard times. I just want to be careful. For Kendra's sake. Brianna, that man is crazy about both of you. He shows up, he's consistent, he treats you like gold. What are you waiting for? I don't know. Permission? A sign. Girl, he's the sign. Men like that don't come around often. Especially not ones who love your kid as much as their own. Nicole was right, Brianna knew. Julian had proven himself over and over. He'd never given her reason to doubt. It was her own fear holding her back. That week, Julian invited them to a company dinner. His executive team and their families were getting together at a nice restaurant. It would be the first time Brianna and Kendra met most of Julian's close business associates. Are you sure? Brianna asked nervously. That sounds really formal. It's just dinner. They're going to love you both. Patricia's already told everyone about the brave girl who saved my life. What if I say something stupid? Use the wrong fork. Julian pulled her close. You could eat with your hands and I'd still be the proudest man there. Because I get to introduce you as my girlfriend and Kendra as my girl. That's all that matters to me. The dinner was at an upscale steakhouse downtown. Brianna wore her red dress again, the one that had become her good luck outfit. Kendra wore a pretty purple dress with a white cardigan. Julian wore a suit and looked handsome enough to make Brianna's heart race. They arrived to find a large private room already filled with people. Julian kept his hand on Brianna's back, a steady, comforting presence as they made introductions. Rachel Torres, Brianna's supervisor, was there with her husband. Brianna, I'm so glad you came. And this must be the famous Kendra. Hi, Kendra said shyly. The company's CFO, Thomas Wright, shook Julian's hand warmly, then turned to Brianna. We've heard wonderful things about you. Julian says your community outreach ideas have been invaluable. I just share what I know from living it, Brianna said. Don't undersell yourself, Julian said. Her proposal for the after-school tutoring program is going to help hundreds of kids. As the evening progressed, Brianna relaxed. Everyone was friendly and genuinely interested in her and Kendra. They asked about her work, complimented Kendra's manners, and treated them both like they belonged. During dinner, Julian stood up to make a toast. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. You're not just my colleagues, you're my friends. And I'm grateful you're here to meet the two most important people in my life. He looked down at Brianna and Kendra. 6 months ago, a little girl saved my life with a simple note. I thought that was the end of the story. Thank the kid, help the family move on. Instead, it became the beginning of everything. Brianna and Kendra have shown me what really matters. Not business success or wealth, but love and family and having people who make you want to come home at the end of the day. Brianna's eyes filled with tears. So thank you for being here to celebrate with us. And thank you, Kendra and Brianna, for letting me be part of your family. Everyone raised their glasses. Kendra beamed with pride. Brianna tried not to cry into her wine. After dinner, as people mingled over dessert, Thomas pulled Julian aside. You're different these days. Happier. It's good to see. I'm happy. More than I've ever been. You thinking about making it official? I've been thinking about little else. I have a ring picked out. Just waiting for the right moment. Don't wait too long. Life's short. When you find the right person, you hold on to them. Julian glanced over at Brianna, who was laughing at something Rachel said. Kendra tucked against her side. That's exactly what I plan to do. The next week, Julian brought up meeting his extended family. He didn't have much. His parents were gone, but he had a sister in California and a few cousins scattered around the country. My sister Jennifer wants to meet you both. She's coming to town next month for a conference. I thought we could all have dinner. Your sister. That's serious. Well, yes, you're serious to me. I want the people I love to know each other. Jennifer turned out to be a warm, funny woman in her late 40s who worked as a nurse. She took one look at Julian with Brianna and Kendra and pulled him aside. You're in love. Obviously. No, I mean really in love. I've never seen you like this, Jules. You look about 20 years younger. That's how I feel. She's lovely. And that little girl is adorable. When are you proposing? Soon. I'm just trying to find the perfect moment. There's no such thing as perfect. Just do it. But Julian wanted it to be special. Brianna and Kendra deserved special. He started planning in secret, recruiting Patricia and even Nicole to help. They were going to need the perfect setting, the perfect words, the perfect moment. Meanwhile, Brianna was having her own conversations. With Kendra mostly late at night when they did their best talking. Do you really like Mr. Julian being here all the time? Brianna asked one evening as she tucked Kendra in. I love it. It feels like we're a real family again. Again? Like when Daddy was alive. Not the same but similar. Like our house is full instead of empty. Brianna's heart squeezed. I'm sorry it's felt empty, baby. It's okay, Mama. You did your best. But it's better now. Are you going to marry him? Would you want that? Yeah. I think Daddy would want it too. He'd want us to be happy and safe. Mr. Julian makes us both. That conversation settled something in Brianna's heart. The last piece of fear or doubt. Kendra was okay with this. More than okay. And Michael, wherever he was, would be glad they'd found someone good. She was ready. When Julian asked, she'd say yes. She just had to wait for him to ask. Julian planned everything down to the last detail. 6 months after their first date, he was finally ready to ask the question that had been burning in his heart for months. He arranged for Patricia to take Kendra for the afternoon. We're going to a pottery class, Patricia told the excited little girl. Then maybe ice cream, so we'll be gone for several hours. Is Mr. Julian going to ask Mama to marry him? Kendra asked with 9-year-old directness. I can neither confirm nor deny, Patricia said, grinning. But if he were to do something like that, you'd be happy? So happy. I want him to be my real daddy. Meanwhile, Julian told Brianna he was taking her somewhere special for their 6-month anniversary. Dress nice but comfortable. We'll be outside. Outside? Julian, it's March. It's still cold. Trust me. She did. She wore her red dress again with a warm coat. When Julian picked her up, he looked nervous, which was unusual for him. You okay? She asked. Perfect. Just want today to be perfect. He drove them to Riverside Botanical Gardens, about 30 minutes outside the city. Brianna had heard of it but never been. The entrance fee was usually steep, too expensive for their old budget. It's beautiful, she breathed as they walked through the gates. Even in early March, the gardens were stunning. Early spring flowers bloomed in careful beds. Trees showed the first hints of green. Paths wound through carefully maintained sections, each more beautiful than the last. Julian led her to a glass conservatory filled with tropical plants. Inside it was warm and humid, a contrast to the crisp air outside. Flowers bloomed everywhere in riots of color. This is amazing, Brianna said, turning in a circle to take it all in. How did you find this place? I've been planning this for a while, Julian admitted. He led her deeper into the conservatory to a small clearing surrounded by orchids. In the center stood a simple wooden bench. They sat down and Julian took both her hands in his. He was definitely nervous now. Brianna could feel his palms sweating slightly. Brianna, 6 months ago my life was empty. I was successful and wealthy and completely alone. I told myself I was fine with that. That work was enough. Then a brave little girl left a note on my car and everything changed. Brianna's eyes started to fill. Finding you and Kendra was finding everything I didn't know I needed. You've taught me about real strength, about grace under pressure, about what it means to be a family. You've made me laugh more in 6 months than I did in the 10 years before. You've made me want to be better, to do better, to build something that matters beyond business success. Julian slid off the bench and onto one knee. Brianna gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. I love you, Brianna. I love how you love your daughter. I love your strength and your kindness and your beautiful heart. I love the way you make our apartment feel like home. I love how you've let me into your life despite all the reasons you had to guard your heart. He pulled out a ring box and opened it. Inside sat a beautiful but not ostentatious diamond ring, elegant and perfect. Brianna Thompson, will you marry me? Will you let me be your husband and Kendra's father? Will you build a life with me? Tears streamed down Brianna's face. Her mind flashed to Michael, to their wedding day, to the love they'd shared. For just a moment she felt him there with her, smiling, giving his blessing. Yes, she whispered. Then louder, yes, yes, absolutely yes. Julian's face broke into the most radiant smile as he slid the ring onto her finger. He stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her as they both laughed and cried. I love you so much, Brianna said against his lips. I can't believe this is real. It's real. We're real. This is really happening. They stood there holding each other for a long time, neither wanting to let go. Finally, Julian pulled back with a grin. We should probably tell Kendra. She's going to flip out. I'm counting on it. They called Patricia, who immediately drove Kendra to the gardens. The little girl came running down the path, Patricia following at a more sedate pace. Did you do it? Did you ask her? Kendra demanded. I did, Julian said, crouching to her level. And she said yes. Kendra shrieked and launched herself at both of them. They caught her in a group hug, all three of them laughing. Does this mean you're going to be my daddy for real? Kendra asked Julian. If that's okay with you, I'd like to adopt you officially. Make you a Hartwell. What do you think? I think yes. But can I keep Thompson too? So I still have part of my first daddy? Kendra Thompson Hartwell, Julian said. That's a beautiful name. Perfect, Kendra agreed. Patricia stood to the side, openly crying. I've never seen anything so wonderful. That evening, they celebrated with dinner at Brianna and Kendra's apartment. Their apartment, Julian mentally corrected. Soon to be our apartment, at least until they decided where to live permanently. Nicole came over with champagne and sparkling cider for Kendra. Rachel and a few other friends stopped by to offer congratulations. The small apartment filled with laughter and love. Later, after everyone left and Kendra was in bed, Julian and Brianna sat on the couch, her hand in his, both looking at her ring. I never thought I'd wear one of these again, Brianna said softly. Any regrets? None. Just gratitude. I'm so grateful Kendra was brave enough to leave that note. So grateful you were determined to find her. So grateful for every moment that led us here. Me too. Every single one. When should we get married? Tomorrow, Julian said, making her laugh. Let's give it a few months. Let Kendra finish the school year. Maybe a summer wedding? I'd marry you in the middle of winter in a blizzard if that's what you wanted. Summer? Brianna decided. Something simple. Just family and close friends. Whatever you want. As long as at the end of it, you're my wife. They talked late into the night about their plans. They'd live in Julian's house since it was bigger. They'd turn one of the rooms into a proper bedroom for Kendra. They'd keep working on the adoption process. They'd blend their lives together completely. I want to do something, Brianna said. Before we get married. I want to visit Michael's grave. To introduce you, in a way. To tell him about us. Is that weird? It's not weird at all. I'd like to come with you if that's okay. The next Saturday they drove to the cemetery where Michael was buried. Kendra came too, carrying a small bouquet of flowers. They stood in front of the simple headstone. Michael Thompson, beloved husband and father. Hi baby, Brianna said softly. I've brought some people to meet you. This is Julian. He's going to be part of our family. I think you'd like him. He's kind and he makes Kendra laugh. He takes good care of us. Julian stood quietly, one hand on Kendra's shoulder. I'm not trying to replace you, Brianna continued. Nobody could. But I'm trying to live like you told me to. I'm trying to let myself be happy. I hope that's okay. It's okay, Mama, Kendra said. Daddy would be happy. He loved us so much, he'd want us to be loved again. They stood there for a few more minutes, then laid the flowers on the grave. As they walked back to the car, Brianna felt lighter. Like she'd received the blessing she needed. Thank you for understanding, she told Julian. He was part of your life, made you who you are. I respect that. I love you. I love you too. Always will. As they drove home, Kendra fell asleep in the back seat. Julian glanced at her in the rearview mirror, then at Brianna beside him. His family. His whole world in one car. Life was good. Better than good. It was everything. The wedding took place 3 months later on a perfect June day. They'd chosen a small venue, an historic mansion with beautiful gardens. Nothing too elaborate, nothing too expensive despite Julian's ability to throw a lavish affair. This was about commitment and love, not showing off. Brianna wore a simple but elegant white dress. Not a traditional wedding gown with a train and veil, but a knee-length dress in soft ivory that made her feel beautiful without trying too hard. Nicole had done her hair in an updo with a few curls framing her face. Kendra wore purple, her favorite color. She was the flower girl, a job she'd been practicing for weeks. She'd chosen the flowers herself and insisted on carrying a basket that matched her dress. The ceremony was small. Maybe 30 people total. Patricia was there, of course, crying from the moment the music started. Rachel and her husband. Nicole and her family. Jennifer had flown in from California with her teenage son. A few more coworkers and friends. The people who really mattered. Julian stood at the altar in a simple gray suit, looking more nervous than Brianna had ever seen him. When she appeared at the top of the aisle, his face transformed. Pure joy, pure love, pure wonder that this was actually happening. Kendra walked down first, carefully dropping rose petals like she'd practiced. Then Brianna walking alone because that felt right. She wasn't being given away. She was choosing this. Choosing Julian. Choosing their future. The ceremony was short. They'd written their own vows. Julian went first. Brianna, 6 months ago, I was saved by an act of pure courage from a child I'd never met. That led me to you, and you saved me in a completely different way. You saved me from loneliness. From a life that looked successful but felt hollow. You showed me what really matters. Well, family. Coming home to people who are genuinely happy to see you. His voice cracked slightly. I promise to love you every single day. To support your dreams. To be a father to Kendra. To make our family my priority. To be worthy of the trust you've placed in me. To never take for granted what a gift it is that you chose me. Brianna couldn't stop crying as she said her vows. Julian, I never expected to fall in love again. I thought that part of my life was over. Then you showed up, determined to thank my daughter, and you just kept showing up. Day after day, proving yourself, being patient while I figured out if I could open my heart again. She took a shaky breath. You've given us so much. Not just money or things, but security and hope and the belief that good things can happen. You've loved Kendra like she's yours. You've respected my late husband's memory. You've made me feel beautiful and valued and seen. I promise to love you with everything I have. To build a family with you. To support your dreams. To be your partner in every way. There wasn't a dry eye in the gathering. The officiant smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Julian cupped Brianna's face and kissed her softly, sweetly, while everyone cheered. Kendra jumped up and down, clapping her hands. Ladies and gentlemen, the officiant announced, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Julian Hartwell and their daughter Kendra. The reception was held in the mansion's garden. String lights hung between trees. Tables with white cloths and simple flower arrangements. A small dance floor. Music playing from speakers. Food catered by the diner where Rhonda worked, because Brianna had insisted on supporting local businesses. Rhonda herself was there as a guest, crying and laughing. I'm so happy for you, honey. You deserve every good thing. Julian's first dance with Brianna was to an old Sam Cooke song, You Send Me. They swayed together, holding each other close, not caring that people were watching. Happy? Julian whispered. So happy I can barely breathe. Me too. After their dance, Julian danced with Kendra, lifting her onto his feet so she could stand on his shoes while they moved across the floor. She giggled the entire time. Daddy Julian, she said, trying out the name. I like the sound of that. Me too. Speeches came next. Patricia went first, her voice thick with emotion. I've worked for Julian for 17 years. I've seen him build an empire from nothing. But I've never seen him truly happy until Brianna and Kendra came into his life. They've given him what success never could. A reason to come home. I wish you all the happiness in the world. Nicole spoke next. Brianna is my oldest friend. We've been through everything together. I watched her go through the hardest times anyone should have to face. I watched her keep going when most people would have given up. She's the strongest person I know. And Julian, you're the luckiest man alive because you get to spend your life with her. Take care of my girl. Always, Julian promised. Even Kendra wanted to say something. Julian lifted her up so everyone could hear her. I want to say thank you to Mr. Julian for being my new daddy. And thank you to my first daddy in heaven for sending him to us. I think all of this happened because I was brave one time. So I want to tell everyone to be brave. You never know what good things might happen. The applause was deafening. As the evening wound down and guests started to leave, Julian pulled Brianna close. We should probably tell Kendra now. Tell me what? Kendra appeared at their side. Julian crouched to her level. We have a surprise for you. Tomorrow we're all going on a trip. A trip where? Disney World, Brianna said, grinning at her daughter's expression. Kendra screamed so loud that everyone still at the reception turned to look. Really? Really, really? Really, really? We're going to spend a whole week. Just the three of us. Our first family vacation. Kendra threw herself at both of them. Best day ever. This is the best day of my whole life. Julian looked at Brianna over Kendra's head. Mine too. Mine three, Brianna agreed. Later that night, after the reception ended and they'd tucked an exhausted but ecstatic Kendra into bed at their hotel, Julian and Brianna stood on their balcony looking out at the city lights. Can you believe we're married? Brianna asked. Honestly, no. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and realize this was all a dream. If you're dreaming, I'm dreaming too. Julian wrapped his arms around her from behind. Thank you for taking a chance on me. For letting me love you both. Thank you for being the kind of man worth taking a chance on. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, just being together. Finally, Brianna spoke again. You know what I think about sometimes? What? How one small act of bravery changed everything. If Kendra hadn't left that note, if you hadn't been determined to find her, if I hadn't called you back. So many things could have gone differently. But they didn't. We found each other. We found each other, Brianna repeated. And built something beautiful. We're still building. This is just the beginning. I can't wait to see what comes next. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. As a family. 5 years later, the Hartwell house was full of noise and laughter. Kendra was 14 now, thriving in high school and already talking about college. She still wore purple constantly and had her mother's kind heart and her adopted father's determination. Julian had stepped back from day-to-day operations at his company, focusing more on philanthropy and family time. The Hartwell Foundation, which Brianna helped run, had opened 3 community centers in underserved neighborhoods. They employed local people, offered free programs for kids, and provided resources for struggling families. We're giving others what we needed, Brianna explained to reporters who came to cover the opening of their 3rd center. Hope. Opportunity. Someone who believes in them. That evening, as they sat around the dinner table in their warm, comfortable home, Kendra looked up from her homework. We're studying acts of courage in English class. I told everyone about my note. What did they say? Brianna asked. They thought it was cool. My teacher said sometimes the smallest acts have the biggest consequences. She said I changed the whole course of 3 lives by being brave for 5 minutes. She's right, Julian said. You changed everything. Gave me a family. Gave your mom support and love. Gave all of us a future we never could have imagined. I'm glad I left that note, Kendra said simply. It was scary, but it was right. That's what you always taught me, Mama. Do what's right even when it's hard. And look where it led, Brianna said, reaching for Julian's hand across the table. To exactly where we were supposed to be. That night, after Kendra was asleep and the house was quiet, Julian found Brianna in their bedroom, looking at photos on her phone. Pictures from their wedding. From vacations. From ordinary days that were extraordinary because they were together. What you doing? He asked, settling beside her. Just remembering. Thinking about how far we've come. Any regrets? Not a single one. You. Only that I didn't meet you sooner. But then I think everything happened exactly when it was supposed to. We found each other when we were ready. Brianna rested her head on his shoulder. I love our life. I love you. I love you too. Always will. Outside, the night was peaceful. Inside, a family built on courage and kindness and love slept soundly. A family that proved that sometimes the scariest thing you can do is reach out to help someone else. But when you do, when you choose bravery over fear, when you choose kindness over indifference, beautiful things can happen. A little girl left a note on a car. It saved a man's life. But in the end, it saved all of them.